Grace and peace. My name is Sharon Roquemore-Smith. I am a fourth year student, yes, a senior at Dallas Christian College. I am currently enrolled in the psychology capstone reading course under the instruction of Dr. Lindsay Neal. One of the assignments that I have given attention to for the last couple of weeks is a senior exposition presentation, which I'm here for now. I do have a PowerPoint presentation, however, I'm unable to show the slides on this video. I have elected to center my presentation on a theory rather than a theorist. However, I must make mention of the theorist in order to get to the theory. Jean Piaget was born August 9th in 1896 in Switzerland. He was known as one of our 20th century scholars who had a fascination with mollusks. I think I'm pronouncing it correctly. They're little creepy crawly things with shells, whether it be a clam or a snail. He began his work in 1920 at Alfred Bennett Laboratory in Paris. He worked in cooperation with Theodore Simon. Now, Simon designed a test with the intent of gauging a child's level of intelligence or why they would answer logical thinking questions incorrectly. Piaget examined or evaluated the tests that Simon created, and he concluded that the test it didn't leave room for any imagination for the children. So he decided to revise the test, and him giving it to the children, he learned that their responses were without error simply because they were basing them upon their imagination rather than real life or experience. From there, he began to develop the cognitive development theory. Now, in this theory, there are three definitions. The first one is cognition, which is the process of knowledge and understanding being developed in one's mind. Secondly, we have the cognitive development, which is where I'm going to focus the presentation. It's a reference to a child's mental development. Thirdly, cognitive process, a child learning through process. Okay, there are three basic components to Piaget's cognitive theory. Okay, first we have schemas. Secondly, adaptation processes enabling the transition from one stage to another. And then we have the stages of cognitive development. Now, the schemas, according to Piaget's, is the basic building block of intelligent behavior, a way of organizing knowledge. Indeed, it is useful to think of schemas as units of knowledge, each relating to one aspect of the world, including objects, actions, and abstract concepts. Adaptation process is equilibrium, which is the force behind the learning process, assimilation, and accommodation. Thirdly, have the stages of cognitive development. Those are sensory motor, pre-operational, concrete operational, and formal operational, and we will define those as well. Okay, the sensory motor stage is from infancy to 2 years old, or when a child becomes a toddler. Primary accomplishment during this stage is object preminence, awareness that all things continue to exist even if they're out of sight. In other words, even though mom and dad is not there, that child has developed a confidence that they are there even if they're in another room and they can't see them. The pre-operational stage, which is from toddler to 7 years old, child has the ability to think symbolically about things. An object or a word represents something other than itself. I don't know if this would be a good example or not, but I have a door in my home that won't stay closed. And well, actually, it won't stay open. So I use a brick to keep the door open. And I have a little boy that I take care of. When he comes here, he doesn't look at that brick as being something used to build a house or a building. It's that thing that keeps that door open. I mean, that's the only thing he can think of, is the brick is there to keep the door open. Also, we have the concrete operational stage from age 7 to 11 years old. This concrete stage begins the logical or operational thought, which is a prime turning point in a child's cognitive development. They have the ability to work things out in their mind rather than in the real world. Formal operational stage from 11 years to adulthood. The formal operational stage goes into adulthood. The child has developed the ability to think about all philosophical concepts and logically test hypotheses. Now, in reading up on Jean Piaget, he had several quotes, but this is the one that I just love so much. And it reads: the goal of education is not to increase the amount of knowledge, but to create the possibilities for a child to invent and discover, to create men who are capable of doing new things. What I like about that, what that says to me, is that we should not be so consumed. And I agree that knowledge is power, but there is so much more to it. To me, this takes me back to the prolific penman Paul, that tent maker from Tarsus, when he said, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So in learning, the knowledge is wonderful, but in learning, it lets me know that I can. It opens me up to learning new things, to discovering new things, and it lets a child use their imagination. It allows them to do that. Another passage that I wrote in my PowerPoint is 2 Timothy 3:14. It said, but you must continue in the things which you have learned and been assured of, knowing from whom you have learned them. Again, we can do all things through Christ who strengthens us. And in conclusion, Jean Piaget's developmental psychology ideas has changed people's views on children's world and how they study them. His theory has been extremely influential. Many have been inspired to embrace his ideas and have gained a greater understanding of the cognitive development theory. I know I have. His ideas are a conduit for how children are understood and communicated with. That's going to conclude my presentation. Thank you so much for your time and your attentiveness. Have a blessed morning.